After exploring 6 very interesting titles in our first video, link is in the description, we still had a few more titles to look at. So in this video, we explore a few more Vietnamese, Thai, Malaysian and Philippine movies that were either banned, censored before release, or just caused a bit of controversy. I'm the Artie Dans from We Love Asian Horror, and this is part 2 of Asian horror movies that were banned or censored in their home countries. And first up is this disgusting looking Thai arty horror film. Another film that we can throw in the not banned but heavily censored pile is this Thai slasher that bears more than a passing resemblance to the Hong Kong Cat 3 nasty Char Siu Bao, or human pork bun. Yeah, this is a movie about eating human flesh, and is about as disgusting as you could possibly imagine. Released back in Thailand in 2009, this movie tells the tale of a poor woman desperate to turn her life around, so she opens up a little noodle store with a secret meat ingredient, human flesh that she sourced from a corpse left behind from a riot. The store becomes popular, and she needs more meat. You can fill in the story gaps in your mind with this one. To add some layers to the character, she is suffering from a mental illness and is stuck in an unfortunate cycle of generational domestic violence. Released in March 2009 in a heavily cut form, the differences between the uncut and censored versions are vast, both in running time, with the uncut version running 18 minutes longer, and storyline cohesion, which is usually the case with Asian horror films when they are edited, as we will see with a few Vietnamese examples later in this video. So it sounds obvious what was cut, right? Human flesh being fed to unsuspecting victims. You'd be kinda right. Supposedly, a vocal group of noodle shop owners protested the release of the film. With noodles being one of the main dishes of Thai cuisine, the idea of a noodle shop selling human meat wouldn't have been a good look, especially when at the time the idea of food safety in Southeast Asia wasn't seen in a bright light. But the shopping list of edits between all the versions of the film is simply amazing. Website moviecensorship.com provides a very detailed rundown of the differences, including strange warnings about smoking, blurring of violence, and complete re-edits of scenes that affect the film's continuity. Overall, this arty horror film is going to be very divisive. While it's not a bad film, this isn't really a movie for the hardcore horror lover, with its strong themes of mental illness and the treatment of women in Thailand being the main themes of the film. The violence and cannibalism play second fiddle. Even more trivia for you, the film has been banned twice in South Korea. Now that's an achievement. Reasons given: extremely high themes and violence, strong sex, language, horror, and imitation risk. If you're wanting to watch a proper uncut version of the film, then the UK DVD with the 18 rating is the one to get. Thailand's version, even though it has a 20 rating, is still heavily censored. South Korea just ended up awarding the film a limited rating, while edited versions exist in Hong Kong and Taiwan. However, they are different edited versions to the Thai one. Sounds strange for Hong Kong considering their history with Cat 3 horror films. And finally the US. A TV 14 rating. 14. You don't have a problem with violence, America. No, not at all. I don't think anything could be creepier than a horror movie based on a true story. Knowing that these events or something like this happened is truly creepy. I can already hear what you're saying. This movie isn't banned. I've already seen it. Indeed, you are right. But you're also kind of wrong. The version you and I have seen is not the original version that the filmmakers intended to release. Now, this technically means that the movie falls under the censored category and not banned. And that's correct. But the only reason that this particular version of the movie exists is because the original cut of the movie was refused for classification by the Vietnamese National Film Evaluation Council. And if that version is refused, then it makes it banned. Kumanthong is a very gritty and at times uncomfortable horror film about a doctor who moves to a small country village and instantly gains the trust of the locals. A deaf girl becomes enamored with him and they end up getting married. However, there are strange disappearances occurring in the village, where young women who visit the doctor are never seen again. His brave wife gets to the bottom of what's happening and ends up uncovering her husband's very horrifying secret. While the premise is awesome, the Film Council found several issues with the film. First with the violence, and next with the superstitious elements surrounding the Kumanthong ceremony and the references to ghosts. These were the elements that needed to be toned down or completely removed. The removal of these required edits ended up having an effect on the overall coherency of the film. While it's still a great film, it's obvious that at times there are lines of dialogue or even whole scenes missing. Scenes, especially later in the film, jump around. New characters are introduced with no details about who they are or their connection with the Doctor. The producer of the film found these enforced edits to be quite frustrating, stating that he believed foreign movies contained content far worse than what was removed from the first cut of the film. Will we ever see a proper uncut version of the film? Well, probably not, because the Vietnamese censored version is the one that was released worldwide. And it sounds like, for the sake of keeping peace in their home country, it'll stay this way, unless there's a major rehaul of the Film Evaluation Council. Ooh, religion and horror go together like fine wine and cheese, or Sadako and a videotape. Religion is always a great plot device for horror flicks, and over in Malaysia, where the Muslim religion is common, it only makes sense to include elements of it in their horror films. Now, 12 years is a long time for a film to be banned, but that's exactly the case with this legal-themed horror thriller from 2007, which is loosely based on the real-life case of the murder of a politician at the hands of someone proclaiming to be a witch doctor. Interesting story with this one. Based on a real-life case from 1993 of the murder of Datuk Mazlan Idris by Mona Fandi, this movie tells the tale of a public defender named Karim who is desperately looking for his runaway daughter. He is assigned a case to defend a woman convicted of murder. She has rejected more than 30 public defenders before Karim, but decides to keep his services. The reason is revealed later in the film. The woman, Diana, is accused of killing a businessman who came to her for help in acquiring some land. They developed an intimate relationship against the backdrop of black magic. After watching the film, I'll admit, it's actually not bad. It's a solid and interesting story with a pretty moody atmosphere that leans more towards thriller than horror, but the black magic theme is strong and all throughout the film, as are the frequent references to the Muslim religion. So there are a few issues here. But it would seem that what actually got the movie into hot water was the sensitive nature of the plotline and how it parallels the real-life case the movie is based on. It wasn't the black magic themes or the strong sexual content, it was something a little more obscure. But considering the real-life case was based on the murder of a politician, it does make sense that the censorship board, who represent the government, would act in their interests and ban a movie that shows a politician in a negative light. What's even more interesting is how this film ended up getting released. 12 years after its banning, mysterious clips of the movie, including a full screener of the title, started appearing online, sparking considerable interest from horror fans and movie lovers. The producers, putting on their best surprised Pikachu face, claimed they had no idea where these leaks were coming from. The studio behind the film, Astro Shaw, who are the biggest producer of movies in Malaysia, decided to pencil in an April 5th, 2018 cinema release, with the movie cleared for release by the censorship board, who passed the film uncut. It earned a remarkable 10 million ringgit in its 20 days of cinematic release, which is approximately $2 million US, and etched itself into Malaysian movie history. Let's travel back to Thailand and have a look at another title. This time, it's the film Arbat, starring my favourite Thai actress, Ploy Sananan, who has been in quite a few Thai horror movies, including the awful film Viral, the really good teen film Siam Square, and the utterly brilliant 2020 film The Maid. Ploy was just 14 when this film, known in English as Karma, was finished. Not a controversial point of interest, just a bit of trivia for you. The real issues with the film revolves around the plot though, which heavily involves Ploy's character Phai. In this film, a young man is forced to become a monk by his father. While at the temple during his novice stage, he falls in love with a young girl from the nearby village. At the same time, the novice monk witnesses scenes of gross misconduct by one of the senior monks at the temple. And this is where we start to run into a bit of troubles. Early October in 2015, the Office of Culture, which the film's censorship board sits under, voted to ban the original cut of the film by a majority of 4-2, with a Buddhist clergy member on the board, and with a spokesperson for the National Office of Buddhism also voicing his concern. they decreed the film violated Section 29 of the Film and Video Act. So, what were those public order or good morals that this film was deemed to have contravened? Well, there were several elements that caused controversy at the time. There was the kiss between the novice monk and the village girl, as well as scenes of the monks lifting an image of Buddha by its head, which is considered disrespectful. On top of that, there were scenes of monks drinking alcohol and getting into fights. It's also noted that the title Arbat is a word that references offences committed by monks. All of this was just clearly too much. Luckily, first-time film director Kaneda Kwanyu was able to salvage the film and release it, albeit not exactly how she intended. Approximately 3 minutes of footage was cut from the film before it was awarded with an 18 rating in Thailand, the country's second highest film rating. The movie was renamed to Arpatti, which has no meaning, and was released on October 16, 2015 into Thai cinemas to slightly above average reviews. The version of this movie that I watched for this review was the censored cut, which still retained some of the controversial themes, just not the scenes. For example, we don't see the monks drinking the alcohol, but he is holding the bottle, and it's strongly alluded to that he drinks from it. It seems the mini controversy didn't do the film any harm though. I mean, it was controversial enough to make it onto this list, right? In the previous video, we had a look at a Vietnamese film titled Lost Tour Vietnam, and noted that the reason that it was banned was because it was deemed too scary. A ridiculous reason to ban a horror movie, but I'm not the censorship board of Vietnam. Well, we found another example of a horror movie being banned because of being scary. Except it wasn't the movie that was banned, it was the trailer. And as you'll find out, that wasn't really banned either. A shrewd person would put this all down to a clever marketing ploy, and quite frankly, I think I agree with this. So if the movie isn't banned, why did I add it to this list? Well, it's because I thought the story behind this one was very, very interesting. First, let's have a quick look at the movie. A woman called Annie approaches her trusted priest Father Nilo to help her perform an exorcism at a theatre that her tourism department wants to turn into an IMAX cinema. The theatre is the site of a horrible tragedy that happened 19 years prior. A construction accident caused the death of dozens of workers who were buried alive. Their souls, unable to pass over, ended up haunting the theatre. Father Nilo and his group of sexy young exorcists, including this cute one with the lensless glasses and this hot one who Father Nilo seems to like best, perform a ritual where they allow themselves to be possessed so they can communicate with the spirits. Annie's told not to break the circle, but her damn phone keeps ringing. Not respecting the rules, she breaks the circle and gets possessed by the worst spirit of them all, Tom Barrios. Don't worry, that makes sense if you watch the film. When I first heard this was potentially banned, I thought, well, it has to be all the religious references, all the discussions about rape and suicide, right? Maybe the Philippine censorship board is a little sensitive to that. No, it was the trailer being too scary. And is it? Well, I don't think so. It just contains footage from the actual movie itself, nothing special. Trailers are supposed to show the good stuff. It's just that when you show all the scary bits in the space of 2 minutes, then I suppose there's this impression that it's actually a scary movie. In the Philippines, even movie trailers need to have a rating, just to make sure they aren't shown to the wrong audience. In this case, Tragic Theatre's initial rating was the dreaded X, meaning it wasn't suitable for public exhibition, including television. And for a movie trailer, that's bad news. But from a publicity point of view, the word of mouth on that is terrific. This all occurred around mid-December 2014, with a few online articles reporting that it was the director who claimed the review board awarded the trailer with an X rating twice. There seems to be a little contradiction here, as the review board themselves claimed that on December 11, they awarded the trailer and subsequently the whole film a PG rating on its second review. Someone's telling porcupines. Now that's Australian slang for lies. As for the film itself, well, it's a bit rubbish actually, and not really worth the effort. So maybe that low rating was just a way to get people into the cinema to watch it. Obsession. That's what the title of this movie translates to. And obsession is definitely the theme of this movie. In fact, the obsession extends to real life, as I was obsessed with trying to find out what the issues were with this film and how it found itself running into troubles. Information was rather vague, but something was available that was able to provide me with just enough information to know what actually happened. And it's all because of the content of the film that it ran into some issues with Vietnamese censors that pushed back the release date of the movie from mid-2015 to January 2016. So now that I have your attention, let's have a look at the themes that are in play here. Firstly, the movie follows two different groups of people whose lives are intertwined by an apartment. One of the groups used to rent it, while the other group owns it. Surrounding that is the tale of a missing university student, and a girl who can't get over the death of her father. The missing student lived in the apartment with her poor boyfriend. They barely have enough money to survive. And one day the landlord, who is the brother of the girl with the dead dad, visits to collect the rent. He swaps phone numbers with the student and shows her a life of luxury. However, he's deeply in debt and uses her to pay it off, but it doesn't go to plan and she ends up murdered. Fast forward a few years and the girl with the dead dad decides she wants to stay at the apartment to be independent and finds that the apartment is haunted. Standard horror flick. But it's the strong themes at play here that raise the ire of the censors. First, I'm guessing it's the theme of casual sex and women only being with men for their money. The second seems to be about unnatural obsession of the boyfriend and the way he tortures his girlfriend when he finds out about her affair. Thirdly, seems to be the treatment of the girl by the gangster and how her murder plays out. But I'm just guessing, because information about what was cut from the final version is not available. And the issue is that whatever has been cut has resulted in a very disjointed and confusing film, exactly like Kumanthong. In fact, this is not the only similarity, as the lead actress from that film, Hwang En-chibi, also appears in this film. It seems she's some kind of kiss of death with the Vietnamese film censors. What should have been a very interesting film ends up being a movie where motives are not explored, the creation of the ghost is unexplained, punishments are heavy-handed, and relationships between characters are very confusing. So confusing that I still can't work out how the boyfriend ended up becoming a therapist and seems to be giving treatment to the sister of the man who his girlfriend had the affair with. Confused? Exactly. And I think it has something to do with what was actually cut from the film. Because of this is not a film I can recommend. It's weak and confusing, and while I wanted to like it, it seems that whatever was cut from the film makes it just a waste of time. Thank you for watching part 2 of this series. We will keep an eye and ear out for more banned or censored Asian horror movies and make further videos in the future, but if you have a hot tip about one, leave a comment below. Don't forget to stab the like button and scream at the subscription to keep up to date with the latest videos here on We Love Asian Horror, your #1 stop on YouTube for Asian horror movie news, trailers, videos, reviews, and recommendations.